Bueno, buenos días.
Good morning. I'm Mako Solen. It's August 26. I welcome you all from Rosario, Santa Fe. Thank you very much for joining this sector, this group of presentations is entitled Agtech, Argentine Agtech Cities. I want to thank Aapresid Congress for giving us this space. In August 2018 and 2019, Agtech meetings were organized and this included business routes. And as part of these Aapresid Congress, we had our ACTEC sessions. Today we are going to talk about networking. What is the possibility of agricultural technology to work from the plot, from the farm until the very end of the change. In these presentations, you can ask questions and write them in the chat to the right of the screen, and when speakers finish their presentation, I will ask the questions to them. Remember that in the menu of the main website, there is a section entitled speakers, and so you or participants as well, and you can have information clicking on those buttons. You will also find in our website the interviews with the experts, and you can also use the hashtag Congreso Aapresid. Good morning, Gonzalo, Fernando, and Alvaros. It's a pleasure to share the panel with you, but I wanted to give a framework to this panel entitled Entrepreneur Agtech Argentine Cities. What is the contribution of the agricultural sector to the world economy? Reports say that the agricultural sector provide more than 1,000 jobs. This is a huge potential. I think that digitalizations open huge innovation opportunities, and it is a quickly changing part of that value chain of the agricultural industry. And the players in this change are startups and entrepreneurs that are introducing new technologies, and also farmers are part of this chain, of this value chain, because they need more technology and more tools to implement better practices, because the demand on food uh, is uh, is becoming greater. However, the seasonal aspects of agri-food and other um, aspects delay investments in the agtech sector. Only 8% of fundings for agriculture were uh, directed to the agtech sector. Uh, However, industry offers hundreds of opportunities. Government and corporate investments, universities, and local organizations are natural partners of these developments and are key factors for the promotion of these systems that are already underway. Eh, this report also talks about future Silicon Valley. We are talking today about 13 global centers that will be the hubs of leader companies. I will introduce the speakers in this panel. Gonzalo Grijera comes from Pergamino. He's an agronomist. He has a PhD in agricultural science from the Buenos Aires University. He has participated in the academic sectors. He is a founder of Agidea. Fernando Errandoso has an MBA in business management. He works in FAIA Consultora, and he's a specialist in investments. And also, he is a partner in Seed Matrix, a company in Rio Cuarto. He is passionate about new technologies, and he wants to contribute with the companies to participate in the global market. And finally, Fernando Errandosoro, he comes from Tandil. He is a member of UNICENT. He is a professor in technology, and he created the think tank Prendete. In the final 15 minutes of this block, we are going to open a Q&A session. My first question goes for Fernando. Fernando, can you tell us about this contest, Prendete, which Prendete means join, or become engaged. Tell us what was the original objective of this contest and what have been the results so far. First, I want to thank you and the organizers of the Congress for inviting us and to show you from Jardín what we are doing, from Tandil, what we are doing to promote the entrepreneurship. This project is a contest for business ideas. We wanted to bring together the innovation ideas that may come up in a city as our city. And so what we want to do is to promote this kind of initiatives and integrate it to the rest of the activities. We started locally, but as we join different players in the ecosystem, first locally and regionally, then we started to participate at the national level. We brought together not only local but also national proposals. And now we are facing the challenge to join players not only from the national level but also worldwide or internationally. So if there's any entrepreneur listening to us, I invite you to join our contest called Prendete. This call is open until next Friday. Whoever has an idea can apply for this group. We want to become part of the international scene. Winners are given the possibility to spend a week in Silicon Valley, to have meetings and to start networking for to validate initiatives, projects, or idea. This is one of the main challenges we are facing right now, which is a consequence of this improvement that we have been introducing year after year in each of our editions. A last comment, the initiative of the contest was the result of a linkage and agreement of the different organizations in Tandil and other areas, including the university. I myself come from the university. Also, we have the trade chambers, and of course, we need the support of the local, provincial, and national governments. Great. So this is a work of the whole ecosystem, the government, the companies, the chambers, the academy, and this is important because you give visibility to those who participate in this contest because they have the possibility to go to Silicon Valley. That's a great thing. Yes, this is a very valuable asset. And when you in, entrepreneurs uh, find a huge value here, more value than if it were monetary award or monetary prize. Uh, Really, they value these very much more than if they had some funding or financing. This is the result collaboration among all the institutions in the ecosystem. The challenge today is to integrate to the initiative institutions abroad, outside the country, not only Silicon Valley. We started to join Silicon Valley because you don't need to explain anybody what's the value of being part of or being connected to Silicon Valley. But as we have been evolving, we realize that it is also very valuable not only to integrate more advanced ecosystem as Silicon Valley, but also we can look at other ecosystems that could be more viable in the short term. Next year, we are planning to start working with a European ecosystem, for instance, Barcelona and San Sebastián. Great, Fernando. The next question is for Álvaro. I was mentioning some challenges that agtech startups have in Argentina. What happens in the Rio Cuarto ecosystem, and what are the uh, challenges that we have Seed Matrix, Fiagro, and other companies started in Rio Cuarto, but we need more startups and startups of a higher quality. How are you working on this in Rio Cuarto? I would like first to share with you the fact that we talk a lot about ecosystems, and we all agree that the ecosystem is all. Without ecosystem, we can't have anything. It's very difficult that companies or ideas can step forward to more advanced stages without the ecosystems. The ecosystems we talk about today is the set of elements that needed in any productive system to make progress. Is the evolution of Sabato triangle was a very logical description that was the interaction or the balance between the state companies and the academic sector. So these three elements become the pillars of a new ecosystem because we have new variables, new players, new things that require a new treatment, a new approach. Rio Cuarto in Rio Cuarto, we have some successful cases. For instance, Biotanol Rio Cuarto is the largest company and the first company, a company that produces ethanol from corn. And and so after that, many other people started to repeat what this company did. Sometimes this does not happen in other sectors because, as you said, Agtech received only 8% of the funding, at least in Argentina. And this happens because startups of the Agtech system should be the spin-off of the system. This might happen with entrepreneurs, people that start working in the garage, or the student that has just left to the university. In the case of agtech companies, in many of those cases, biology is what dictates times because times are longer. So it is central, if we go back to this Sabato triangle, is that the entrepreneur sector, the entrepreneur related to agriculture, can develop their talent with spin-offs because they are the ones that are able to support any of these undertakings for more than 3 months. Thank you very much, Alvaro. I think that producers can play a very interesting role there, not only as counselors of startups, but as the fair adopters of this technology, taking this technology to their farms. This would be very valuable for entrepreneurs. The first stage of any undertaking is this awareness stage, understanding what's happening in the market and how to provide a better solution or trying to provide a solution to a specific problem they have. In the case of farming, geography and biology sometimes complicates some things that have to do with the development or validation of business model. So if we have a first wave of companies that can generate interesting undertakings, companies from the agricultural sectors, that would be very important. But we have to work a lot on innovation, raise awareness, educate, and provide information. We need to raise awareness and to educate and train people.
Thank you, Alvaro. And I have another question for Gonzalo. Originally, you started with Agidea in Pergamino, and today there is already a technological innovation pole there. Why did you decide to start in Pergamino? What is the vision that helped you do this? And how does this organization work? Good morning. I'd like to thank you for having invited me to participate. We started with our undertaking over 15 years ago, and we settled in Pergamino because of some previous work we had done, and because one of the partners is from here, and because Pergamino was a neurologic center at the time, just like today. So the advantages were key. But the question we ask as a community is, how can we position the city with that historic advantage it has? How can we grow from here without wasting this opportunity? How can we take this as an advantage and as a catalyst to promote and support that entrepreneurial ecosystem? We believe that Pergamino is still the ideal place for innovating active projects because of the production level, because of the companies working here, because of its location between Pergamino and Rosario, because it's a mid-sized city. And we as entrepreneurs still feel this. We're now starting a new recombinant protein project in Pergamino, and we're doing this here because of the advantages we see. And these things have been kind of passive. It's what the city has historically had, but we believe that the city should be an attraction pole because of an active movement to attract entrepreneurs and investors, so that the innovations and ideas will come true, and I hope many of them will settle in the region. And that's the goal we have at the Pergamino Foundation and the Technological Innovation Forum. Both are public-private interaction fora, and there is a convergence of citizens, companies, university, and other organizations such as INTA, Chamber of Trade, and we're trying to generate an agri-industrial ecosystem looking up to 2020, 2030. We want to provide comprehensive development opportunities, and the PIT is quite new. It started in 2018. It has already become a new organization with the three pillars: public sector, private sector, universities. And the goal is to support entrepreneurs and help them make a good use of opportunities based on companies' demands. So we want to provide visibility to the supply and demand of solutions so as to make this entrepreneurial process more dynamic. The FIT is working actively along this line. What you're saying is very important, because very frequently it looks like the ways followed by companies and startups are parallel ways that never get together. And I think it's important to have organizations such as the one you've just described, so that the needs, so that companies can see what the contribution of startups can be. For sure, I think you can quickly see contact points, cooperation points between established companies and startups. Companies may have new problems, and those new problems may be more easily solved by more dynamic and flexible groups such as the new startups. And the new companies also give rise to new projects or spin-offs, and there is a willingness in companies to understand that having a more dynamic entrepreneurial system will mean advantages for everyone. This is why many companies are ready to make a contribution. Thank you, Gonzalo. Well, now I have a question for Fernando. Could you please discuss 2 or 3 work lines that are part of the Tandil Agtech Hub? I'm sorry, I was muted. As we said some days ago, along the years, one of the natural consequences of our activities was that we started working together with the Tandil and the regional agriculture and technological sector and creating what we call the Agtech Hub, which is just a place where we set lines of work, the main goal being to develop an ecosystem, a more solid ecosystem. We have a strong agri-industrial sector, a technological sector which may meet most of the technological need and may implement many of the new technologies that can be used in agricultural companies, and the hub is a natural place for all those stakeholders to meet with support of the university. We try to integrate our work and research lines, and we try to work together with the private players. At the same time, we also try to keep developing our capacities to be able to invest in these initiatives. At least in our region, in our territory, there are potential capacity to transfer capital and profits, but usually the players who are willing to invest in these projects require a previous training program, because even though agricultural sector understands what venture investment is about, not everyone understands that it's a bit different from other types of investment, and venture capital investment in our country and all over the world requires angel investors who know how this works. And this is one of our work lines that we are activating right now, so as to provide support to all the integration work in both sectors, agriculture and technology, with the cross-sectional support of the academic scientific work and the participation of the local public sector. So, which are the concrete facts? We have a competition with a specific prize for the Agtech initiative. There are general prizes for the best startups, and this is assessed by Argentina and Silicon Valley accelerators. But there is one that is assessed separately and that is the best Agtech initiative. And we even have the sponsorship of private companies who are interested in working on these projects. So some well-established and big companies. So within the framework of the Agtech Hub, those are all different work lines that we have started to focus on. This started last year, and this year we are strongly implementing these work lines. And Gonzalo mentioned that they have a vision for 2020-2030 in Pergamino. I think that's very important to have a long-term vision. A startup is not created overnight, especially in the agricultural sector. Nobody has become a major player overnight, so it's good to have clear rules and long-term visibility. Alvaro, which are the things that have already been created and done in Rio Cuarto, and how do you think that Rio Cuarto companies can support that first mile of startups so that they can scale up and contribute technology to the world? Because from the time a startup has first development, and a long time goes by until they are able to sell their projects to the world. I don't remember, Gonzalo, but how long did it take for you until you were able to start operating in other countries? Was it 10 years? Right, 9 years. So we have to bear in mind that ecosystems are also startups. They also go through a set of stages. Well, I was listening to Gonzalo. I know something about how the pit works in Pergamino. I'm now hearing Fernando tell us that they have the support of quite a significant agro-industrial chain. Well, we're now getting into the Death Valley as a startup, as an ecosystem. We have a lot to do, but I think you've just said the right thing. That ecosystem needs a shared vision. We have to think of what may happen in 5, 10, or 15 years' time. Even though we have to review those goals almost quarterly, and we have to make sure whether things have changed or not and make the necessary adjustments. In our case, yesterday, the province of Cordova came here to launch a project, the Cordova Arctic Hub. They launched this program in Rio Cuarto as an agri-food capital city. The goal is to position Rio Cuarto to have a greater startup development rate. In the case of the province of Cordova, it's the 6th largest district in terms of global corn production. In Rio Cuarto, within the province of Cordova, is the one with the largest corn production. So if anything happens on the corn value chain, it would be good to do it here. We have the obligation, not the right, the obligation to do things regarding corn here. Same thing with technology. We're working quite hard to launch new projects, spin-offs, and from the point of view of logistics, we also have to work hard there. We're now at a critical point where in the by-ocean route we are facing huge challenges, and I think that institutions and companies that are already well established are the ones that should launch a short, mid, and long-term vision, and immediately afterward they should be able to generate concrete actions, such as the case of pit in Pergamino. We know they have physical facilities, they're developing it with all the challenges because it is not easy to keep those spaces, but we do need to provide space for company spin-offs. So you think it is necessary to generate a physical space, brick and mortar space, right? Not only as incubators for company, but also as accelerators, because when spin-offs are part of traditional companies, they start to beat at the same time of their mother company, and a startup is totally different in that respect. And for those garage entrepreneurs, students, well, they need basic things: physical space, internet, utilities, hot water machines, those very basic things. But if we leave them on their own, they will never be able to flourish. So you think that companies can support those things, maybe provide the physical space, and in this way be in touch with startups and be the first ones who see those disruptive technologies that are being created in that hub. Exactly. Not only the first ones to adopt, because technology adoption may be a later stage, but they may be the first conceptual testers. A startup that is created with the wrong concept, the MVP, right? They need help so that it's not just a matter of luck. Companies should support and provide mentoring to these projects. Well, you at Endeavor know a lot about this. Conceptual mentoring. Every startup should have conceptual mentoring from the very beginning. Absolutely. I think that a good mentor is key in those initial stages, well, all throughout, but especially in the first stages, so as to really think the value proposal, the business model. It is key to have good mentors at those stages, especially that may be even more important than funds. Well, that's precisely what I was going to say. The venture capital people may kill me, but a good mentor is worth much more than a good investor, no doubt about that. Absolutely. Thank you, Alvaro. I have another question for Gonzalo. Gonzalo, as we have already said, you were born in Pergamino, but you're a global company today with offices in San Luis, United States. What are the learnings we can get from that ecosystem? I understand there is an abyss between St. Louis and Argentinian ecosystems. But on the other hand, you started accelerating a short time ago, maybe 2012, 2013. That's when we started to see more startups. So it's a young ecosystem. I know there's a big gap, but what are the learnings or what did you find when you arrived in St. Louis, and what are the things that may be transferred to Argentina?
I want to comment about what Alvaro said. I agree with him with this idea of the Death Valley for the ecosystems, or these efforts that we're doing to develop the ecosystems. It's a difficult work. We need to keep our excitement up. We are in a we are homeworking in our physical space. It is very necessary to have this long-term vision, because these are processes in each regions, and the public and private intervention or interaction is central, and we need to generate social capital. This has to stay to remain as a asset of the cities and the regions beyond any government administration. So this should be a capital for the interaction between the private and public sector. Regarding our experience in US, really that has been impressing, especially for the support that we had from 3 years ago when two Argentinians with not much to offer appeared, and we really found the support. We found the support of a system that was based on a process, and we learned how to attract investments, and also how we can achieve this belief in the undertaking, although no investments can be promised. Really, we were received very well. In a city close to St. Louis where we had operational offices, they organized a meeting with the mayor, with managers of the banks. They gave us offices. They helped us, and they facilitated a interview with the governor. They helped us really in an unexpected way. We So this responded to a procedure, this responded to an organized plan. Everything has been thought beforehand. So uh, St. Louis is really impressing. It's a sort of Silicon Valley, but for biotechnology. I I don't expect, or I don't. Yes, I don't expect to be as St. Louis, but this can be an inspiration. This can be an motivation for us to follow them and to try to do things after them. This is part of what we are doing in Pergamino. Transformation work is underway. We are inviting citizens to work in cells, and this idea was the result of a visit that Pergamino's mayor made to St. Louis. We are trying to regard as an inspiration what's going on in St. Louis. Really, whatever happens there, or everything that is happening there, is very interesting and it is worth sharing. Here we are more personal. We people that are an interesting thing and a very good thing to learn from you is that all these processes should go beyond each individual person. So this is a process for everybody. Fully agree. We need to be organized to have a minimum staff structure. We have um, recruited a executive director. I think that regional cooperation is very important. I was listening to Alvaro that said that they received some things from Pergamino. On our side, we also have taken things from Rio Cuarto. So we are taking elements from others that have done things before us. So we are not only taking the example of undertakings abroad, but also undertakings in our own country. Thank you, Gonzalo. I have a short question for Fernando. This is a difficult question. I'm always asked this question. Uh, is an entrepreneur born, or can you train, or can you become an a entrepreneur after receiving training and education. Most of what we do need a concept context. This phenomenon of creating businesses is a very complex one. It depends on a, individual factors and depend on context factors. The educational or training process that we know requires many adjustments to um, uh, teach a person with natural talents to become an entrepreneur. I believe that the university has to adjust many internal processes, have to look outside and try to learn competences from outside. Endeavor is a very clear example of successful processes along those lines. Universities uh, have to play a significant role when you look at what's going on in Israel. I'm not talking only about Silicon Valley. In Israel, the academy plays a very important role in the development of ecosystems. And it also depends on the context, it depends on the social capital we were talking about. This social capital help and support potential startups and potential MVP to grow faster or not. But eh, it's clear that we can work on the natural potential and talent of people to become successful entrepreneurs. Thank you, Fernando. Alvaro, you invest in technological startups that are only starting, companies that don't even have an MVP. Tell us what are the three things that you focus on as an investor, and what can farmer can do or can help somebody that might be listening to this panel, uh, how can they invest? I believe that the basis for this, that the secret for this is awareness, raising awareness among investors, but among potential entrepreneurs. Those of us who have some experience in this, we have sort of a moral obligation to listen to everybody. It has happened to me that I've have contact with angel investors asking me how is this working, and they left the meeting believing that they can also be entrepreneurs themselves. So this is a very rich process, although you don't invest in a startup, because synergy occurs, synergy around the project, around the idea, around the passion that the entrepreneur has and the potential the entrepreneur has. Uh, Sometimes people present very interesting processes, but you need to be aware of the fact that as the process of implementation of the project takes place, you need to live on something, because so all this process really is a very rich one, not only for the investor, but also for the entrepreneur. Aside or apart from the fact that there's money flowing in between, the process as a whole is very important. A very important things are the people who are behind this, and and whether they um, they will be aware of not only of how beautiful the idea is, but that there also this idea may pose some problems, and we need to find the solution to those problems. So you need somebody that has passion, or a team that has not only that has passion. So you need people to be aware that problems might come in spite of the good solution they are thinking of. They need to be able to reconvert themselves and to change or look for another solution if the solution they are thinking of is not appropriate. And this process requires resilience, patience, and strength. So this is a requirement for entrepreneurs. I think that Majo has lost connection, but what you said is very interesting, what you said about entrepreneurs. We know that we need to go a long way to be selected as entrepreneurs by Endeavor, but we need to remind that all this process of being monitoring and being challenged were really as important as the help that we received at the beginning. All our journey, all this process throughout our journey is very valuable. So we need to sometimes forget about the everyday life, small things, and to try to have a more holistic view. Yes, this has to do with when you go to the to talk. I mean, what we should tape, or what you should film and record is the trip back home. When you come back for that first meeting, you come back home with your partner, and you are in the car with him, and you start talking about giving your ideas and the brainstorming that takes place between both of them. Yes, it's true that with the virtual meetings, we are not having that trip back home. We don't drive back anywhere. Álvaro, Gonzalo, Fernando. We lost Majo in our way. This is an issue of virtual meetings, but I think that this exchange and the message that Majo wanted to convey is more than clear. I don't know if you want to add a closing comment. I think that we have touched on all the ideas that we wanted to contribute. We are on time. I want to thank the three of you, Álvaro, Gonzalo, and Fernando. Also, I want to thank Maria Jose Soler We will probably contact her again and to say bye-bye to her. I want to invite you all to keep uh, connected this Aapresid Congress, this third Agtech Congress. Again, thank you very much. Let's keep in touch. Thank you, Rocio. This has been an excellent experience. It's been a pleasure to share the panel with these co-speakers, with these fellow speakers. I know that history will acknowledge, will recognize everything you are doing. And I want to thank very much the people who invited you. Thank you, Rocio. You are welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.